Hi everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today for another fluid art creation. So I've got an A1 size canvas. I've painted the edges with the base colour. I'm going to show you that shortly and I'll take you down to see my colour palette. But today I'm inspired by one of my most favourite TV shows at the moment. So I'm not going to give too much away as I go throughout the creation and the process. Maybe you'll guess, I don't know. But I will reveal it in the comments below if you can't guess it correctly. So I'm going to paint. I'm going to use just paint and water. I'm going to use various brands. So I'm experimenting with different brands today. And I'm using my embroidery hoop. So maybe you can guess what technique that I'm going to use. But anyway, without further ado, let's get painting and let's see what we can create. Okay, so just a wider view of my table. You can see how big the canvas is. It's an A1 size canvas. It's just a standard canvas, so a smaller edge. But as you can see, I've painted the edges ultramarine. So let me now take you around so you can see the paints themselves and the canvas. So these are my brands that I'm using. I'm using a range of brands from Dale Rowney, Winsor & Newton, Amsterdam and Arteza. And I will list the names of each of these colours in the description box. So please check that out, expand that. I always add lots of information in there, including all of my recipes and all of my ratios. So that's the paint. I'm going to show you the consistencies closer up. So here are all the paints just mixed up with just water. So I'm using these colours. I'm probably not giving it away which TV show it is just yet, but let me just give you a hint. It's always themed around this time of year. So yeah, that's all I'm going to give away at the moment. This is the base colour. Really rich ultramarine. And that one's by Amsterdam. And as you can see, just trickles off the spatula into the cup. And that's going to be what's going to be on the base. And then these colours are going to be swiped over the top. So I haven't decided which size ring to use, probably the smaller one. So yeah, I'm ready to go. I can't wait to do this one. So this creation has a couple of different stages. And first of all, this is about getting the base colour down. So let me explain the thinking between why I chose this actual base colour. This colour and all the different colours are listed in the description box and you'll see the brands that I'm using. But this is an ultramarine and this is a transparent colour. Now what this is going to create is some different tones on the canvas. So because it's not a completely opaque colour, it's not going to completely have a block of one different colour or one tone of colour on the canvas. So the idea is to create some different depth to this piece, and by having that transparent colour on the canvas will mean when it dries it will be quite patchy, but that's okay because there's going to be several other stages to creating different layers on this canvas. But this is really about just covering this canvas fully in this transparent colour and then moving on to the next stage of the process. So I'm just using my torch, and that's to pop those air bubbles that are on the canvas. And now I'm placing the embroidery hoop in the middle of the canvas. So I've placed it in the middle and I'm just pressing it down just to create that vacuum between the hoop and the base paint. I'm then going to take one colour at a time and I'm going to layer those colours around the outside of the embroidery hoop. So they're the colours down that I'm going to use, and I'm actually using toilet paper for my swipe. So as you can see, this is just a square of toilet paper, and then I fold it a couple of times, half and then half again, to create this width. I then tear the paper in half, and then I've got 2 pieces of paper from that one to then swipe with. So the idea is to now take those colours that I've just layered around the outside edge of the embroidery hoop and swipe those colours from the middle to the outer edge. As I dip the toilet paper into the paint, I just allow it to absorb slightly, and then I drag that piece of paper from the middle to the outer edge. I don't apply any pressure, I just allow the paint to absorb into that tissue, and then I just swipe, and I go in the direction from the middle to the outer edge. And I'm going to repeat that process until I've swiped all the way around this ring. So now I've done those swipes, I'm going to reduce the paper by half again, and I'm then going to do some swipes around the pieces in between the swipes I've already done. That's just to create a little bit more depth and movement within this piece, and also reduce the gaps between each swipe. I'm going to go around the creation one by one and fill in those gaps, and then once I've done that, I'm then going to remove the embroidery hoop. So I'm going to literally pick up the embroidery hoop. Before I do that, I'm just going to twist it slightly, and then I'm going to lift the embroidery hoop off of the base paint. Just be careful at this stage, because we created that vacuum, it might pop. But let me take you in now for a close-up. Now this is the first stage, so we've got the base paint down, we've swiped, and I'm now going to let this dry before we continue with the process. So the creation is dry, and what I've done is I've just taped off the centre. I've almost created almost like a frame around the canvas. So I've taped it off with a little bit of plastic and some masking tape just to cover up that centre. Now the idea is I'm going to use my spray can. This is acrylic spray paint, and I'm just going to go around the edge and spray some white. I'm not going to have a full block colour around this frame, but I'm just going to do some random sprays around that edging. Now what this is going to do is it's going to break up the edging a little bit, and it's also going to create that illusion of a frame. But I'm going to show you more about that in a second. But I'm outside just for good ventilation, and I'm just using my white spray paint all the way around the edge. Okay, that's enough of that. So I'm going to go back into my art studio, take the painting with me, and this is what you can see. So I've taped off that inner part. I've got that white spray paint around the edge of the canvas, but not in a block colour. You can just see different tones of white. And now I'm going to peel off the tape and reveal the centre. I didn't want to get any spray paint on the centre part this time, so that's why I taped it off. And I've added in some metallic squares. Now, one of my most favourite TV shows this time of the year on BBC One is Strictly Come Dancing. And this was really inspired by that programme. I don't know if you can see my interpretation. This is just an interpretation of that show, and I'm really happy with it. But I still don't know whether I should keep those metallic squares in the middle or whether I should just have that blue circle in the centre of the canvas. So I'm going to show you both versions. So let me show you both. So that's obviously the one with the squares. I love the effect. And I'm going to go in, show you some of that detail, show you those squares. I really don't know which one. I'm going to swipe them off in a minute just so you can see both versions. So we went through that process of having a transparent base, swiping over the top, and then spray painting around the edge. Now let me just take these squares off. I'm just going to place them to one side. And then this is the version without the squares in the middle. So guys, tell me, do you prefer the version with the squares or without the squares? Thank you so much for being here, and I hope I get to see you again in the next video. Bye everyone.